I don't really know where that
In the
came
room?
from.
Like,
Yeah.
what room?
They said that they found, like, going into the girl's bedroom, there was just a
There's bacon.
2-pound slab of bacon just right there. Like, that's what I'm saying, bro. Oh, and another reason why I think he did it was because he murdered his whole family.
Oh my god. All right. So then, what?
What do you think the murder weapon was?
Well, it was an axe, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Welcome to another episode of the CHOW and DIMES podcast. Today we are going to be covering the Villisca Axe Murder Houses. Just a little bit of a warning right now. Some of the things we're going to talk about is kind of graphic, and it deals with, well, obviously murder, but also
Some weird murder.
let's just say that there was some
gruesome.
some reverend doing some not so holy things. Let's say that to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's your warning, and yeah, let's get right into it.
All right. So why don't you give us a little bit of the background, like the year it happened, and a little bit of the background, the people involved, stuff like that, where it happened.
Okay.
If you want to talk about that.
So essentially, the Villisca Axe Murder House. It's in Villisca, Iowa, and it happened on June 10th, 1912. 8 people were murdered by someone with an axe. 6 people were in a family, and then they had 2 friends sleeping over. This place is voted one of the most haunted places in America. I don't know what exact number it is, but I'm pretty sure it's probably top 5.
It might be, yeah.
Say.
We could check that out.
You probably have seen or heard about it, whether it's in a book or a movie, because I'm pretty sure there are movie and book adaptations to what happened.
Yep, they made a movie about it.
But basically, what had happened was... So, the night of June 10th, basically what happened was there was the Moore family. It was Josiah, Sarah, and their 4 kids... Herman, Mary, I got it written down somewhere over here. Yeah, Herman, Mary, Arthur, and Paul.
Yep.
Their 2 friends were Mary's friends, and it was Lena and Ina Stillinger. Basically, to give you a broad spectrum of what happened, is they went to sleep that night, all 8 of them. Somebody was in the house, and they bashed their skull in with the backside of an axe to all 8 of them.
So, now, the weird part about it is that the doors were all locked, right? When they went in to find them, right? And then another thing too that I brought up was there was a plate of food in the kitchen. So he went to eat something and then I guess left, but had all the doors locked. I don't understand that part.
So from what I saw and what I did research into, because this was one of the topics that around Halloween time that I was really into.
Yeah.
So apparently there's 3, I guess, interpretations of how the killer got in the house. The first one was he went through the front door, obviously.
Yeah.
The second one was the family had on their kitchen side, there was a little, like, sliding window. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Sliding window.
You went
without
through
a
the window.
screen.
Yeah.
And the third one is probably the most bone-chilling. He was in the attic the whole time.
Really? So you're telling... Wait, so what was this house again? Was it a...
It was like...
It was a motel type place? Or?
No, it was like a little, like, a one-story little house. Just for everyone understands it, we will be putting up pictures. It's like a little one, maybe like a two,
Oh, so the family
house.
owned the house.
Yeah.
And then they had the 2 friends staying over as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So let me see what else. So I have some other questions.
Please do. I'm very
So
into this.
we don't really know how the killer got in the house, and you thought a theory of maybe he was in the basement, or you
The attic.
read a theory that attic. Okay, so what were some of the suspects? Like, where could have this killer came from in relation to the people who died?
Okay, do you want to talk about the suspects first? Or do you
Yeah,
wanna...
let's talk about the
Yeah, we
suspects.
could talk about the suspects. So,
And then we'll go
there's-
backwards a little bit.
there's like 7 suspects, but I only wrote down 3 because I think out of all the evidence that was really seen, there's only like 3 things that like kind of make sense. I'll start with the most obscure one, and I'll work my way up, I guess. But the first one was, it was just a nameless serial killer that just came to the town, picked that house, and just slaughtered everybody. Because there was, in the Midwest area of Iowa, there was not exactly the same, but very similar types of murders where, kind of like what you said earlier, where the guy made himself a plate of food.
Yeah.
There was other murders from around, like, the Midwest where they found a food. They found food after people were dead. And it also doesn't help that the town is located right by like a train tracks.
Yeah.
So realistically, someone could just jump off the train and pick a house and just. Also, there were accounts of eerily similar murders happening all over the U.S. and even parts of Europe. Like there was one tied to it in Germany, bro.
Yeah, I did see that. It's weird if it's a serial killer related killing, then it would make sense that it would be in an area that had other sort of instances like that.
Another big thing of what else linked it besides the plate of food, because, you know, to be honest with you, everybody has dinner every once in a while, But
dude was hungry. He was hungry.
Yeah, dude needed to, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Dude had to, dude was working up an appetite.
Yeah, he put in a lot of work, and then he had to.
Like, what do you think after that, bro?
I don't know.
Just bash fucking 8 people's skulls in, and you're like, wow.
Wait,
I could go for a sandwich. Like, come on, man.
Wait, get through the other suspects, because I have another question after you get through that.
So the other one is a guy named Reverend George Kelly.
Oh, so the Reverend is linked to... So the family was religious, obviously. Man, so the Reverend might have known them.
Yeah, the Reverend, like I said earlier, the Reverend was not so holy. He had a history of being a peeping Tom. He was very friendly towards younger girls. And it also doesn't help that they found evidence around the scene that the girls were violated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. There was also like a 2-pound slab of bacon in the room too. So I don't really know where that
in the
came
room.
from.
Like
Yeah.
what room?
Like literally, when you, I was about to describe it to you. Oh my god, they said that they found like going into the girl's bedroom. They were obviously like headless and violated, but there was just a 2-pound slab of bacon just right there. Like, that's what I'm saying, bro.
Dude was thinking about what he was about to make, and then left the bacon behind.
God.
Oh, well.
Why the fuck would he need to make himself a meal if he has a 2-pound slab of bacon around? Who carries that around?
Maybe he has a food fetish, right? But he has to do some killings before he makes food.
Yeah, it was also like... So, going back to the Reverend. So, like I said, he was very friendly towards little girls. The family, the family obviously, like we said, is religious, and they belong to a church.
Yeah.
The Reverend moved to that town that year. I don't know the exact month.
That's interesting.
But there was also, at their church, they held an event that's called Children's Day. The Reverend attended that day. The Moore family was also there. Now, that day was the day before, it was June 9th. It was the day before they all died. Yeah. The next day, he hastily ran to the train mere hours before the bodies were found. Like, information-wise, the bodies were found around, like, I want to say 9 o'clock. If my memory serves me correct, 9 o'clock a.m., obviously. He was running towards the train to make it by the 5 or 6 o'clock train.
Did he leave then permanently? Did he never come back?
He moved around, and he was tried twice. The first trial was a hung jury, and then the second trial was he got acquitted.
Wow.
Do you want to know why he got acquitted?
Why?
He straight up confessed to killing them. The jury didn't believe them. Didn't believe him.
All
and
right.
again, this is also
That's
100
weird.
years ago. So, back then, I'm not really too sure if reverends were really seen as something where like, oh, they're part of the Lord's Prayer, and they can't do anything wrong, and blah blah blah. But,
All right. That's interesting. Hey, that guy might actually be. That sounds like the most plausible so far.
Wait until I tell you about my first suspect,
All
the
right.
guy who I said he did it.
All right, let's hear him then.
So, two guys. The state senator at the time, his name is Frank Jones. Now, Frank Josiah, I always have trouble.
Don't worry
pronouncing
about the
his name.
last name.
So, the father,
Yeah.
I'm going to call him father. The father worked for Jones for years. Don't really want to, it's irrelevant if I tell you what they did. But basically, Moore decided to leave to start his own company. Jones was so pissed because obviously, valued employee leaves after a while. How are you going to fill the thing? It also didn't help that he took probably one of their biggest clients, John Deere, like the John Deere franchise, took it with him.
Oh, wow.
And it also doesn't help that there were rumors around the town that Mr. Moore had an affair with Frank Jones's daughter-in-law.
Oh, okay.
So right there is, two of the three motives: money and sex.
That's interesting.
So basically what he did, because obviously he couldn't do it himself, was he hired a guy whose name was William Mansfield. And this guy is a piece of fucking work. Like, me researching this guy to, like, give a little bit more of a biome about him, like, Frank Jones had, like, a little paragraph. This guy, William Mansfield, had, like, a whole page.
Really?
Dude's, like, a cokehead. Guy went to prison multiple times. Oh, and another reason why I think he did it was because he murdered his whole family.
Oh, my God. All right. So then what?
What do you think the murder weapon was?
Well, it was an axe, wasn't it? Okay. Well, then, I mean, that would make sense as well. But then let's go. Is there any other suspect or no?
There was one more thing I just wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Another peculiar thing was police back then had fingerprints.
Yeah.
They could find fingerprints at a crime scene. There was no fingerprints at the crime scene. Don't you think someone that's already been convicted once for something like this?
They might have learned how to,
And think about it. If your state senator is paying you to do it, don't you think he'll find a way to get you out?
That's true. And it makes a lot of sense.
Corruption in the world is a real thing.
Well, I think that might actually be a plausible suspect.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Like, that's why I think he's my number one. Like, if I were to look at all the evidence of like the people that I would say, yeah,
he's probably number one.
This guy is number one.
Okay.
I mean, come on, you hired a guy that eerily has the same type of murders already on his record. Like,
yeah,
come on, man.
So let's get into the more details of the killings again. So you said that all 8 died, and not one of them fought back, though, while they were asleep.
So 7 of the 8 didn't, and this is going off of the autopsy files.
Yeah.
Which were tainted, but we can get into that later. But essentially, all 7 of the 8 victims, the only wounds they had were to their head from the back of the axe. Now, there was one, I think it was Ina, one of the little girls' friends. She had bruising on like her arm. I don't know. She had bruising somewhere, and she had a cut on her left arm, deep enough to be from an axe. So there was signs of struggle. There was no signs of struggle there, but then again, if it's a grown man and a little girl, I don't think there's going to be much struggle a little girl can do to. Yeah, it's horrible to say, but
no. But you're right.
Yeah. Another weird thing about this whole thing was everything was like windows, mirrors, everything was covered. Like even after covered. Like he took bed sheets and just covered the windows, covered mirrors. He also covered the bodies too. Like even after he bashed their heads in. He didn't like cover them and then bash their head. No, no, no. He did the act and then decided, hey, let me cover this.
So, did we bring up that everything was locked? The doors and stuff? We said that.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think that could have been about? Like, maybe he thought they weren't dead yet and that they would try to leave, or like, I don't understand. Or maybe he's trying to prevent people from getting in the rooms or something. I just don't see the reason for that as well.
The woman that found the bodies was their next door neighbor.
Yeah.
And she would have found the bodies about an hour and a half sooner, or maybe an hour and a half sooner, because the family was active, and she went over because there's nobody leaving. So she went to like knock on the door, nobody answered. She went to like jiggle the handle to walk in, because it's not like how it is, nowadays. Then again, we're talking over 100 years ago, but
it's
it's not like how it was nowadays where, people were involved in other people's business. Now everybody just kind of does their own thing.
Interesting. I was gonna bring up, could it have been one of the family members that did it?
No.
But that would make no sense now that you brought up the suspects. I feel like, I just feel like that last suspect you brought up was probably the one who could have done it. But
do you know what the most like fucked up part of this whole thing is?
What?
The fact that the day the bodies were found, the whole town found out about it. It's like when a secret gets out in high school. Everybody knows about it within an hour. It's the same thing that happened there, to the point where the whole town came to the house. The bodies were still in the bed. There were motherfuckers holding the murder weapon.
The murder weapon was left there.
Yes,
and there was no fingerprints on it.
No
either,
fingerprints.
So he definitely
no
wore gloves.
anything.
Interesting.
I'm like, dude, are you stupid? How do you decide? Hey, I'm gonna pick up the thing that the guy used to literally bash their heads in.
Yeah, that was stupid. Yeah, 1912 or 1912.
Yeah,
man. What was the crime report like then? I know you brought up
tainted crime scene. It's a tainted crime scene.
tainted. Okay.
Everything.
Yeah.
Tainted crime scene to the point where the police that showed up literally had to tell people, get the fuck out of here. This is an active crime scene.
Yeah, I wonder, that's weird back then that people just were all...
That's what I'm saying.
Like, oh, let's go over and see what happened.
Oh, I want to go see the bodies of our friends that we saw yesterday. I want to see what brain matter looks like.
Oh, my God. So let's get into the more paranormal stuff. So what happened... I don't know if you know much about this part, but what happened to the house directly after the killings, like the years after? Not nowadays. Like, but did something actually happen? Or was it no one living in there or whatever?
So I didn't look too much into that.
Yeah.
But I know it's been like a tourist attraction
nowadays,
for the past,
right?
like 40 years.
Okay. Oh, wow. That long. Okay. So that's so interesting as well. That, because usually what I've noticed is that some of the other, like the older paranormal stuff, those houses were around way earlier, like in like 1700s, and they probably didn't turn into like a touristy spot until, I don't know, late 1980, 1990, like around the time where paranormal stuff really got popular, I would say. But this early 1900s and then like 50 years, 60 years later is relatively quick, I would think. Yeah. For that to turn around into a house that gets all these touristy parts to it. So
I'm probably gonna quote this guy a little bit. Shout out Sam and Colby on YouTube. I watched their video, and not gonna lie, that's their video is what sparked my interest for this.
Oh, I've seen them. They're good.
Yeah, they are really good.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be a little bit much, but I've said, I'm like, listen, a lot of it you have to like indulge a little bit. You're not just gonna sit there with a camera. Besides the point, there's a guy that they talk to and has actually been interviewed multiple times. His name is John Hauser. I have his name written somewhere in here. Love how I just turn the page just to turn it back. His name is John Hauser, and he's got some stories about paranormal things that we're gonna get into, but some of the stuff he has is like.
So what's his background though?
He just works at the house.
He
So
works at her. Okay.
so he works for the family that owns the property, basically.
Got you.
So he works at the house, maintenance, tours, having people like stay in the house, indigestion, all that kind of stuff. Do you know what else is kind of like crazy, and like he brings it up in the video and everything and in the interviews. So think about it. If you're in a low hanging, if you're in a low ceiling thing and you're trying to wind up an axe where the blade is pointing away from you,
you would get it stuck in the wall or the ceiling. Yeah.
He says there are times when he has to like not clean the marks, but there's times when like he has to make sure the marks are whatever, because obviously when he's swinging he got it stuck and everything. And oh my god, we'll put up pictures too everywhere.
Definitely we'll put up pictures
of some of like these marks that we're talking about, but they're like literally right above like bed frames and all of that. So
what happened in that video you watched with them going in the house? Like, what did they do to try to see if there was any paranormal stuff going on?
So I love that you're talking to me about this. So there's certain technologies where you can try to communicate with the other side, let's say. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you a Ouija board. No, I'm not going to tell you that.
No. Yeah.
There's a thing, it's called a spirit box. Basically, it's an electromagnetic thing where, do you remember when you were younger and you used to turn on the TV and it used to have like that static? That's what it sounds like. It sounds like intervals of static. I don't know why. I can't explain the logistics of it. I can't explain the technology of it. But for some reason, it picks up electromagnetic waves, and those produce voices. So, you know, you put on a voice box, and it'll be like the ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. And then if you listen closely enough, you can probably hear things like, for instance, again, grain of salt kind of stuff. There's times where you can hear sentences clear as day. I mean, they have times where in the house itself, they have vocalization from there. If you turn on a spirit box, you can have clear as day sentences that the box is telling you about things. But
yeah, that's what they focused on, was trying to hear voices and stuff while they're at the house.
Yeah, they have a whole bunch of different stuff. They have like a thing that's called the Estes method. It's basically where you put that same concept with the spirit box that goes like shh. You put like headphones on. It's basically like sensory deprivation, where you put on a blindfold, you put on something that muffles your ears, and then you put the spirit box over like headphones and everything.
Yeah, that's
the only thing you hear is that.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're supposed to just ask random questions. Like if me and you were doing this right now, and let's say we were in this house, right? If we were in this house and let's say you're asking me questions, you wouldn't be asking me broad questions like, what kind of meal did you have after you bashed their skulls in? No, you'd ask like, who am I talking to?
Yeah.
How are you feeling? And then I would hear things and I would just recite whatever you're saying. So basically it's something where I don't know what you're asking. I'm just repeating what I hear while you're asking questions into the great beyond.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It is really cool.
All right.
But also another thing I want to bring up is you remember how when we talked about the Conjuring house, I told you about, I believe that there are certain energies and certain things that if you have a traumatic experience, you're tied to a time and a place.
Yeah.
Researching this house just proves my point every time to me. Every time I read it, I'm just like, proves my point every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Something traumatic happens that's significant enough where you're tied to that time and a place.
I mean, that makes sense. I don't know. I just feel like I guess I'm kind of going ahead here, but I've read a few stories about people who've been to the house and tried to do paranormal stuff, or just tried to see if they would get like experience anything paranormal while they were there. There's a huge mix. I feel like there's some people who say yes, some people who say no. Is it like they will, if there is spirits in the house or whatever that are trying to communicate with other people, will they only communicate to those who kind of like allow it to happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would make more sense, because I feel like more people who are skeptical, like myself, who kind of, I don't really think any of that's true, and I'm just gonna push it away. Or if I was to go to the house, I would probably kind of just write things off as if it's like, that's nothing, you know? So what are some of the paranormal things that you have read that have happened to people there?
So the guy I said earlier, John Hauser, he has a story that he said on Sam and Colby's video, and then also in one of his articles where he says there was one night with him where he was in the house on a Friday night just kind of cleaning up and everything, and he's upstairs. He's upstairs in whatever bedroom, who cares? And he hears the front door open. And he's like, we're closed. I'm not doing any tours. And, he thought it was some, teenagers trying to be cool on a Friday night, breaking into a haunted house. So he was like, I'm going to scare these motherfuckers. He was like us on Halloween, bro.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to get these motherfuckers.
That's funny.
So he hides in the closet. Hears plain as day footsteps just walking around the house, goes up the stairs.
This guy.
He hears the door open to the room he's in, and then someone walks in. So he shoots the door open and goes, why are you in here? Why are you in here? Nobody's in there.
Really?
Nobody.
It was just footsteps.
To the point where he looked around, front door wide open. Side door, the door that it was in the room that he was in, wide open. He goes, I left right after that.
Interesting. Wow.
Another thing is, I also think that some areas like this, especially with the amount of bloodshed, there's people that have accounts of a feeling of dread and hate. And it's just
when they're in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also tells a story about how there was this one guy who, big brolic dude. He's got the beard, looks like a lumberjack or a Viking or maybe a mix of the both. And he decided to stay in the house for one night. Knew about everything and blah, 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 blah. He stayed in one of the rooms. He said the next day, he went to go check on him early in the morning. He found him with a knife plunged into him, and he's laying in a pool of his blood. The guy survived. Doesn't remember anything.
Wow.
Which, again, grain of salt kind of stuff, where it's like, okay, dude, first off, how the fuck do you get it? How do you plunge a knife into your... I was very skeptical when he said that. I was like, I would like to hear that guy's
Well, then that story just makes me want to go back to the original incident of these people getting killed. It's like, was the house already sort of haunted? Could there have been some sort of I don't know, some sort of incident similar? Let's say that story is true. Yeah. The guy who went there and just stabbed himself. Let's say that's true, and something similar like that happened to these people originally. What if that's the real story? What if it is some sort of just paranormal thing that killed these people instead of an actual human who went there just to get, revenge or kill them just on purpose?
Yeah.
Was there anything that you read that said anything about the house being haunted before the incident, or no? Was it just after?
No, the only other things I got written down here, but it's not before the house. It's whatever is people who go there and
Because have you ever thought of that, that instance of just what if the house was already haunted
and the house brings out the worst in people?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
I literally have it written here. Dangerous effect on people within the house.
Yeah. So even just not even the tourist part of it, just before when the event actually happened, there could have been something with that house. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
So, which is really interesting.
The thing that makes me think that it does have an effect on people is there are multiple accounts that, my boy John Hauser, who I know so much about now, where he says we have people that come in here that are very skeptical and borderline disrespectful.
Skeptical. They're just this place is not going to do anything to me.
Yeah, they'll be fuck this place. It's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
Why
blah,
would you
blah,
even
blah,
go
blah,
there,
blah.
though?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, why would you go to something just to be a hater?
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm like, dude, you're lining their pockets, right?
Yeah, it's
bro, whatever.
No,
So
but that's a good point.
he says, he's like, there are times when like we have people that come in here and there's like, oh, fuck, smoke and mirrors, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. They return to apologize to the house, which is crazy. I've only ever heard about that one other time, and that's because there's like, sorry, I'm gonna get on a side note, but apparently there's like a doll somewhere in like Vegas. I learned about it months ago, but there's like a doll where like if you walk in the room with the doll, you have to like greet it, and as you're about to leave, you have to say like goodbye.
What the fuck?
It's really weird. Maybe
What?
that could be our
That's so
next.
weird.
Maybe that could be our next episode.
Screw the dolls, dude. Dolls are weird. My grandma. Well, this is about dolls in general. Like we're just sidetracking now, but so dolls have always freaked me out because at my grandma's, back when I was like 10 years old, there was this doll in one of her guest rooms that it was like the doll that if you lay it down, the eyes close, and then you lift it up and the eyes open, dude. That freaked me out every time. Dude, I've hated dolls ever since that shit. Well, not, like the baby dolls.
Yeah.
Like, those are the ones that weird me out. And I always think of that shit. Whenever I think of dolls, I think of that.
Bro,
so.
you know that reminds me of. Have you ever seen the real like Annabelle doll?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so
It is creepy, yeah.
It's so creepy.
See, that reminds me of the doll that my grandma had at her house. Like, that's why it freaks me out.
Like,
so.
why are you giving this to a kid?
Yeah, what kid is like, yay, doll, yay?
Yeah, what kid
And
is just like,
up
oh,
and
I'm
down.
gonna play with
Whoa,
it?
awake. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. But
That's crazy, bro. I mean, I'm like, listen, I believe in a lot of this stuff, and dolls are where I draw the line.
well,
I do want to go see that doll I was talking to you about
Yeah.
earlier. I'm pretty sure it's in Vegas. It's in like a museum or whatever. By the way, we're gonna get sidetracked, and I don't really care. We're kind of done talking about we gave you guys a lot of the information.
Well, before you get in that, would you want to visit the Villisca Axe
if I'm
Murder
ever in
House?
Iowa,
Would
that's
you want to visit?
one of two things I would want to do.
And what would you stay there? Would that be what you
would-
want to do?
I would need a witness. I'm not going there and staying on my dolo. I wouldn't be able to sleep.
I don't think I'd be able to sleep.
But if me and you, if we took a Chow and Dimes podcast and we filmed the podcast in the house, I would do
I don't know
that.
if I could do that.
I don't think
It's
I
not
could.
that I'm
either.
afraid. It's just that I don't want to even attempt to be.
No, I'd be visibly uncomfortable.
I would
the
just
whole
be.
time.
Yeah, I just.
I'd be
wouldn't-
sitting there like this, just twiddling my thumbs. My leg would be going crazy.
Well, like I said before about how I'm skeptical. Being in there would make me just be afraid of something actually happening while I'm being skeptical, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't want to believe anything to happen. But then again, if something was to happen, I would just be like, all right, I'm done. Get me out.
Yep.
I'm done.
That's how I feel about the
So,
Conjuring house.
yeah.
That's why they have, you'd have to pay a lot of money, but they have it where you can stay the night there. And I'm like, no.
I wonder how many people can stay at once. At not the Conjuring house, this house. I wonder if they
it's a
have.
smaller house, so.
Why the fuck? It's I'm sleeping in the bedroom that this guy just got his head bashed in by
Hell
an
no.
axe. Nah, dude.
No.
It's like you wake up and you just smell bacon. You're like, what the? Why is there
Smell
bacon? Why is there?
bacon?
Yeah, from the
Smell
2-pound
bacon. You smell fucking blood.
No, from the 2-pound piece of slab of bacon.
I don't think it's still there.
But there's a ghost. It's a ghost bacon.
Oh my god! Could you imagine? You just sit there and you wake up in the middle of the night. I smell bacon.
I wonder if you have weird dreams while you're there. You fall asleep and then you're just dreaming of a guy with an axe just walking up to you.
I would. You
That'd
could
be
build
weird.
a house with the amount of bricks I would shit.
You wake up, you're just like, oh, it's just a dream. You close your eyes again, and the dude's just
Yeah, you
over
close your you lay back down. Meanwhile, he's standing over you like this.
yeah. Oh my god! Imagine though, that'd be sick.
Oh my god,
That'd be fucking crazy.
I do want to go to some haunted houses or some haunted areas. Conjuring house coming soon.
Every time I think of a scary house. Do you remember that animated movie? What was it called? Monsters House, I think it was called.
Yes, I do.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie?
Dude, that movie made me
was awesome.
scared to walk home. And literally, first time I ever watched it, I was fucking 5 houses away from where I live.
That movie was so good.
It was really good.
That's one of the better. I guess it's not even considered a scary movie. It's just a well animated haunted house movie. I don't even know what else to describe it as. It's just really good, and Yeah. Every time we talk about houses that have paranormal shit, I think of that movie
You just think
for
there's
some
gonna be
reason.
some fat lady in the basement
Yeah.
cemented to the ground?
I just think that's an awesome story, though. And
It
then
is
the
a
house
really
like
good
turns
story.
into a like good story. So, yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, if you want to know some of the paranormal gatherings that people have experienced from being at the Villisca house, it's footsteps when nobody's in the room, random vocalizations where it'll be something where they'll hear someone say like hello or whatever, like a kid's voice. There's a phenomenon called a paranormal hangover, and it's basically where you feel hungover in the house, and the minute you go outside the house, you kind of like all fades because there's like that feeling of dread and I don't want to say hate, but there's malice there. So I don't know. There's a lot of things about this topic that are just very like grain of salt kind of stuff.
Well, as we do a lot of these, we'll see the similarities. You know,
we gotta go to one. We have to go to
dude,
one.
I don't
bro.
know, bro.
We have to go to one. Let's go in broad ass daylight.
I'll go for like a few hours, yeah, but
Oh,
definitely not staying over.
Bro, we're not staying the night. I might be a little off my rocker, but I'm not. I don't got screws loose in my head. If somebody were to walk up to me and say, "Okay, we're gonna have you stay one night at the Conjuring house,"
Do I get a shotgun?
I would
though?
be like, "Yo, how much are you fucking paying me to do this?"
Yeah, it's like, all right, here's your complimentary shotgun, and see you later. And then you're just like the only person in the house. It's like, all right, we'll be back tomorrow. All right, have a good time.
Oh no, bro, I wouldn't like. I hope you know, I wouldn't sleep.
What about the people who run the place though? Do they stay in there? Do you think?
I don't think so. No,
They don't live there.
They probably live like off of the property.
Imagine that was like you'll get the job, but you gotta live here though. It's like you gotta take care of you take care of the place.
My
It's like,
favorite is
nah.
some of these people that are like so nonchalant about it. They're like, "Yeah, we have ghosts." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, there's one. He's kind of friendly. His name is Billy." I'm like, "What the fuck? Why are you so nonchalant about this?"
Man, it makes me feel if there's all these places, like if spirits really do just settle where they die, like what we've heard, then hospitals and like hospices and like all these places where people die, like you should really be able to feel that, right? Shouldn't you? I've been in a lot of those places and I just don't know if I've felt what you're describing in these paranormal places.
I just feel like there's more like malice. Like, for instance, like a hospital, most of the people that pass on in a hospital aren't, I don't want to say aren't going to haunt the hospital, but they aren't dying in a way where
It's not an
they
axe
feel
to
like
your
they're
head.
taken.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point. So maybe, I don't know. I just have a lot of questions about that in particular. So I guess it is associated with the way you die, and necessarily, or if someone takes your life. I guess you can
Hey,
even
man,
put.
we will never know.
Yeah, we won't.
We won't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I would really like to go to a lot of these places that I look into, but a lot of it is like, I need a buddy.
I know. No,
I wouldn't be able to do it by myself.
Maybe there's one in New Jersey. Like New Jersey, we have like Clinton Road. Like
And
that's the
not
most.
that's not even Clinton
No.
Road anymore.
What do you mean? They changed
Dead
it.
Man's Curve is no longer.
Oh yeah, well they
That hasn't
repaired
been
the
a thing
road.
for a
I know.
while.
Yeah, they've changed that. And I've been on Clinton Road a ton. There's nothing. Can I talk about Clinton Road story? Just one.
Yeah, of course.
It will be a longer video, which is good. So I want to. This event. So basically in New Jersey, we have a road like 10 minutes away from us called Clinton Road, which is said to be like one of the most haunted roads in New Jersey, if not like the country, I guess. I don't know really that much background about it, why it's super haunted. It's
mostly just Dead Man's Curve.
Yeah, really there was a really sharp curve in the road. I guess if you didn't see coming, you would just fly off the road or whatever. I don't know.
Sharp enough where if you were going 30 miles, if you were going more than 40 miles an hour, your car would tip.
Yeah.
That's how sharp this curve was. We're not calling it Dead Man's Curve because it was a sharp right. No. It was like driving.
But there's also, now I just remembered a few things too. There is a weird house, like a mansion on Clinton Road as well. That's, I know, pretty weird because it looks very haunted. I don't really know much stories about it, but I've seen it just by going on the road. But my story is I went hiking with a few friends near Clinton Road because there's a good hiking spot over there to get to a nice cliff jump area. And
it is a very nice area.
It is amazing. It's a great area. And
Clinton Road during the day is really beautiful.
It is.
During the night, it's kind of sketchy because there's no cell phone service, no lights.
And when it gets dark, when it gets dark, it's dark. Like there's no lights. And so basically, we were on our way back, and it was getting dark, and we just hear a honk coming, like someone just laying on the horn, like like coming down the road, and we just heard someone yelling someone's name, like I don't remember what name it was, but they're just yelling it, like hey, like just yelling the name, and we just sort of like, what the fuck was that? And then we just go back to just walking, back towards the road from in the distance, and we hear him come back around like the same direction, same thing, just like yelling the name, dude. And then I think when that person came back the opposite way, we eventually got to the road, and then we didn't know. That person was just gone, So that was the one weird instance that I've seen happen.
I have a funny instance that happened there. People basically used to fuck with people that would be driving there, where they'd like ride your ass while you're like driving and everything. Basically be on your bumper.
Yeah.
And they'd like flash your high beam, try to do like the whole like, oh, it's a haunted car following you. I was with a group of friends, and I made some great choices in my life. I do say so myself. We had water balloons for some reason. And I mean like water balloons that weren't filled. So what we decided to do, I got angry enough where, I don't remember who was driving, but I remember looking at them and going, let's go somewhere and fill up these water balloons and come back. We did. And sure as hell, basically, after Dead Man's Curve, it's a long straightaway. And normally, a lot of the times, right after Dead Man's Curve, there was a little like, I don't want to say a ditch, but a little like dirt road off of it where if you're driving down it, you can't see the ditch from where you are on the road. So what people would do is they would park their car there. The minute they saw someone, they would immediately flick on their high beams and just speed at you. Especially if they had a car that had all-wheel drive. So people would do that to fuck with people driving down.
Up, yeah.
So we got angry about we went back to someone's house, filled up a couple of water balloons, and then we literally went back to the road, and I was like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I swear to God, if we just spent all this time just to fill up these goddamn water balloons and these motherfuckers left, I'm going to be pissed. Somebody's getting pelted. So we went around Dead Man's Curve, and at first, there was no car. And we were like, motherfucker. About maybe 2-3 minutes into the drive, back. Like, we turned around and came back. The car's on our ass again.
Wow.
Came out of nowhere, just on our ass. So I was like, I opened up the sunroof, and I just remember going, for the love of everything I hold dear, let this water balloon just impact on their windshield. I threw the first one up. I overshot it.
Oh, really? Did you go again?
I did.
Took your second
I literally remember looking at someone in the backseat and going, I missed. Give me yours. Give me yours. She gave me
better
hers,
hit that
and I just went, all right, adjusting for the altitude and the trajectory. I just threw it straight up, and you heard it hit the windshield.
Oh,
and the car just slammed on its brakes and almost I don't want to say turned off a little bit, but you heard the tires squeak from braking and turning to stop because they couldn't see. And I remember I'm dying, and I was like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here before we end up having to get into a fist fight.
Yeah, no, we'll have to look and see if there's other interesting spots around us. But that's really the only one I could think of.
Bro, we just gotta buy that weird New Jersey book.
I have it at home here. I actually have it. We could look through it one day. Next episode, we'll do a weird New Jersey episode. That's actually a good idea. My dad has a big one, a big book. So, and another sneak preview that I have read in Weird New Jersey is that there's these albino people that live, I think it was on Clinton Road.
Oh my God.
And they would come out with weapons and shit and stop your car. I think that was in the book too.
Oh, is that the people I pelted with the water balloon?
I hope so.
I hope so too, because that car was rickety as hell.
Could have been. No, there was a photo of them. and it's just cringe as fuck, but it's kind of weird as well. So we'll show that eventually, but next episode.
Yeah, realistically, it's just a bunch of fucking high schoolers with nothing better.
Nah,
to
it was
do.
grown men. It was grown men.
Oh,
It was
better.
just weird though.
Oh, even better. It's a bunch of grown men in fucking baby powder, just being like, "Let's go fuck with some people."
Yeah, no, but that's a good idea. We're New Jersey next.
I would hit all of them with my car. Just. I'd be like, listen, if you're coming at me like this or like this with a weapon in your hand, and I've got a car, I'm using my car.
I'll open the door as they drive by. Just boosh. Dude, just knock them out with the door. Oh, man.
Dude, that would be so funny to drive by. Just...
They're like, wow, this guy's getting kind of close to me. Oh, he's just going to miss me by a foot. Thank God.
Oh, I think he wants to give me a high five.
The door's just, like, solid, though. Like, it will just take a hit. Oh, man. But, yeah, I'd do that.
It'd be like in the old cartoons where, like, they get smashed and they get, like, their face smashed into something and it'll just show, like, the outline of their face. That's going to be on the side of your door.
Oh, yeah. Permanently, too. So,
okay.
All
I think we've talked enough to you guys about everything. We hope you enjoyed this kind of all over the place episode. Do your own research into the Villisca house. Let us know what you think. Thank you again for joining us. This has been the CHOW and DIMES podcast. Like, subscribe, comment if you want. We're not asking
TikTok.
you to. We're telling you to. No,
yeah. Share it with friends.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you don't have to do anything. We appreciate you just from coming out and listening to our bullshit. So have a good day. Stay beautiful. And, we'll be... I don't know.
We'll be back soon.
Yeah, we'll be posting... I don't know if we're going to do a double episode this week, but fuck it, kids.
This was an extra long episode, so.
Yeah. We gave you guys a twofer for the value of one.
Yep.
We're basically 4 for 4s.
Yep. That's true. Or, nah. I don't think that made any sense. You're just making stuff
Yeah, we're
up.
just buy one, get one free here.
Yeah.
That's a better one. But anyway, I can sit here and give you euphemisms that mean absolutely fucking nothing for the next 3 hours, so. Later, man.
See you later.